Cool. Hey everyone. Welcome to this Facebook Live. We're going to talk about transcribe, repurposing, and amplifying your podcast. So I'm Kamal. I'm the founder of WritePanda. And with the advent of AI, a lot of our lives have become easier. And for podcasters and creators, it's AI is a special tool which you can use to fast track your content creation process and more so for attracting new listeners. So, in this FB Live, we're going to see just that how you can leverage AI to for your podcasting needs. So, there are a lot of things like transcribing your podcast, repurposing your podcast content for various platforms like Twitter, LinkedIn, blogs, newsletters, and Instagram and TikTok and so on. We're going to see a quick demo of how you can use an AI tool like WritePanda to achieve some of these. And if you're going to stick till the end of the webinar, you're also going to see a special gift uh, for today's attendees. So let's start with the first part, which is uh, transcribing your podcast. So why should you transcribe your podcast, right? So transcribing your podcast makes your content more accessible to a wider audience. So not all of them can listen to your podcast. So having a text content of your podcast is going to make it more accessible. So that's the first reason. The other one is for SEO and discoverability. So Google and other search engines would not be able to crawl or index your audio. So having a text content helps Google crawl your content and will be able to better index your information. So that way you get the SEO and discoverability aspects. So if someone searches for the content in your podcast, there is a very high likelihood that they'll come and check out your podcast as well. And then improved audience experience, right? So not all of them listen to your podcast the same way. Not all of them consume the content in the same way. Some of them would like to search the transcript to see if the content they are interested in is been spoken to in the podcast. They may want to just skip to the specific section of the podcast. That way, transcription of the entire podcast is going to be very useful for all these needs. But then transcription is not easy because you cannot manually transcribe your entire podcast. You need to find a way to automate it. But when you automate it, you should be able to identify speakers, because it may be possible that your podcast has one or more speakers. So your tool that you use should be able to uh, speaker label your transcripts, and also accuracy is very important. So those are the things that you need to consider when you are transcribing your podcast using any of the AI tools. And the next one is repurposing your content, right? One of the challenges that early podcasters face is how do you get new audience? How do you get more listeners for your podcast? And that's where repurposing your content is going to be really beneficial. For example, you can reach new audience, right? So a lot of the audience who are going to be interested in your podcast would be hanging out in different platforms. Like some of them may exist in Twitter, some of them may exist in generally searching on the web, or they may exist in TikTok, Instagram, and so on. So go where your audience is. If you can repurpose your podcast content into a tweet thread or a blog, or if you have an audience newsletters, or if you can repurpose your podcast into audiograms, that you can reach new audience. And the other one is build brand awareness and credibility in your field, right? So if you can repurpose your content and find new and creative ways to communicate the same message, you're going to build credibility. You're going to eventually become an authority in your area of expertise. And that's always going to be helpful in the long term. Podcasting is a long term game, right? So repurposing your content is going to help build your brand credibility. And also, it's going to help with the rule of seven. Now, what is a rule of seven? It means that someone has to see the same thing 7 times before they really take notice and action. So it is going to be useful for you to repurpose your content in different formats, uh, so that audience keep looking at your content one way or another, and that way they will be able to reach out to your podcast eventually. And the most important thing is get the most mileage of your content, right? You've already done the hard part, which is creating the podcast itself. uh, Now once you have created the podcast, make the most out of it. So repurposing it will help you in the form of audiograms, teasers, or reels. Will get help you get the most mileage from your content. And you can also reach out to Gen Z more, because Gen Z hangs out a lot more in newer social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and so on. So if you can repurpose your podcast content for these newer channels, the higher chance, the higher likelihood of you attracting these Gen Z audiences also exist. So, transcribing your podcast and repurposing your podcast are super important if you want to get more and more listeners for your audio for your podcast. So let's quickly look at how you can do that using tools like WritePanda. Uh, Let me show you a quick demo of how you can do that using WritePanda. Shannon, if you can, yeah. So WritePanda is a tool which helps you do all of that. It's specifically built for YouTubers and podcasters, and the goal is to help you attract new audience and grow your audience at least by 10x. Now, how do we do that? We do that by helping you repurpose your content in the form of blogs, newsletters, and tweet threads, just like I mentioned right now. Uh, so all you have to do is feed in your podcast or your video, and then we will identify the best way of repurposing your content. So WritePanda does all of the work so that you can just simply publish into the various platforms and get more and more audience on your podcast. So here's what we do: we generate blogs, newsletters, tweets, and we also generate viral clips. So what do I mean by viral clips? Things like this, right? If you have a video podcast, you will automatically identify the let's say you upload 1 hour worth of content, we'll identify the 5 best or 10 best clips that you can generate from that, and then you can add captions to that. If you have an audio only podcast, you can generate audiograms with it using WritePanda. So that's how you can do all of that with WritePanda. So let me quickly show you a quick demo of it. So signing up for WritePanda is easy and free. You get 60 minutes of free transcription when you sign up for WritePanda, and you have 4 different options here. So one, if you have an audio only podcast, you can simply click audio, and then you can choose the language that is spoken in your podcast. So we support multiple languages here. So let's say it's just an English podcast. If you have an mp3 file, you can drag and drop the file here. Or if you already have published your podcast, so let's say this is an example podcast, simply copy the RSS feed, come back to WritePanda, paste the RSS feed here, and the WritePanda will automatically pull in the latest episodes from your podcast. And all you'll have to do is click transcribe. So here our AI will automatically listen to your podcast, and it will generate blogs, titles, and also get a full transcription. So here the full transcription is already ready, and it can be speaker labeled. So or you just have to edit it, and let's say you want to rename speaker 0 as Kamal and just update it. So wherever Kamal comes in, it gets updated with the same content. So if your podcast is even 1 hour length of podcast, can be very easily transcribed by WritePanda. So once the podcast is transcribed, it also comes up with creative titles, as you can see here. So you no longer have to think about what title to give. Our AI is optimized to give the best title that the audiences are most likely to uh, be interested in. So you have 10 different options from which you can choose one from. You also get show notes. Show notes are super important for publishing a podcast. So when you publish your podcast, audience would be having a quick look at what the podcast is about, and that show note has to be very concise but also communicate what is spoken in the podcast, and it's important to come up with that. So you get show notes out of the box as well, and you also get other content like a tweet thread. So once you've recorded your podcast, publish a tweet thread into Twitter so that more people in Twitter will get interested in your podcast. We also get a blog that you can publish for SEO purposes. You can also publish a newsletter. If you already have an audience, an email list, You can, every time you create a blog, you can publish this newsletter so that it reaches them. And you'll also get quotes, links and mentions, and also timestamps. So these are really important things for publishing your podcast. And when all of this content is ready, one, you get a good podcast with title, full transcription, speaker level transcriptions, show notes, and timestamps. Plus, you also get repurposable content like blogs and so on. So let's say you want a LinkedIn post as well. So you have additional content here that you can generate. So simply click LinkedIn post, and it will also create a post for LinkedIn. And this allows you to add your own prompt as well. So here's a LinkedIn post that's ready for you to publish in LinkedIn as well. You can also create your own prompts as well. So you can browse the prompt library for newer prompts, or you can add your own prompt. So let's say you want to create action items from your podcast. You can do that as well. So that's the step one. So you get a transcripts, you get AI content. Then you can also chat with the AI. So similar to Chat GPT, now you can chat with your podcast. You can literally ask it any question. So you can ask it to summarize it, and our AI will summarize it as well. And here's the best part, which is creating an audiogram from your podcast. So simply click generate new, and then AI video. Sorry. So let me go back to an example here. So here you go. Simply click generate new. You have two different options here. If you know exactly what clip you're going to edit, you can create that audiogram here. But if you can also ask our AI to identify clips. So here our AI has identified 5 different clips from this specific podcast that we uploaded. So each of this clip, you can choose it to be either 30 seconds or 60 seconds or 90 seconds long in duration, because each of the different platforms like TikTok, YouTube Shorts allow different durations. For example, YouTube Shorts allow only 60 seconds worth of content. We also tell you what this clip is about and how likely it is to attract an audience as well. So that way you can choose the best clip for you to edit. So let's say we want to generate a 30-second clip, and here you can choose a vertical or a square format, and you can choose different captions as well from the list available here. You can also customize it and add a different canvas color so that it suits your brand perfectly. You can also, add an audiogram, which is a wave format. You can position the audiogram in different positions. You can also add, frames as well. So if you want to add a logo, you can do that as well. That way, once you generate and submit it, you can generate audiograms which look something like this. So this helps your audience repurpose your content into a visual medium, your audio-only podcast into a visual medium, and it also gives a quick summary of it, and you can very easily share and publish into YouTube. You can also create a square format, which is more ideal for LinkedIn and platforms, Twitter, and so on. So this way you can repurpose, create clips as well from your audio only podcast. But if you're having a video podcast, this is going to be even more better. This is going to work even well. For example, I have transcribed a podcast from Joe Rogan. So let me quickly show you that. So here's a Joe Rogan's podcast. So all I did was I clicked uh, instead of audio, which we saw earlier, we're going to click upload video. And here, if a podcast is more than 3 minutes, you can directly paste your YouTube link here. So in this case, let me go ahead and copy the YouTube link and paste it here. Or if you have a video file, you can upload that video file here as well. And then click transcribe, and our AI will automatically download the YouTube video and then transcribe it and generate all of the content that we talked about already for the YouTube video as well. This is going to take a while depending on the size of the video that you're trying to transcribe. So while that is transcribing, let me show you an existing video that I have already transcribed. So here's Joe Rogan's podcast. So you get all of what I talked about earlier. You get timestamps that you can simply copy and paste in YouTube. You also get a description as well that you can copy and paste. If you want to edit something, you can go ahead and edit it. If you can also convert this into any different language that you want. The same content can be translated in different language. And the best part is you can also chat with the AI as well. Yeah, you can also chat with the AI, and you can also generate shots for the different platforms. So here is an example of a square format shot. So that's how you can create highlights. So the way you can do it is simply generate video and then click AI, and our AI will suggest best videos from it, and then you can preview them and you can edit them, and you can add different types of highlights and simply click submit to generate a video. So there are a number of videos that you can create, number of styles that you can create, and so on and so forth. So that's how you will use WritePanda for your various needs. So if there are two people speaking in your podcast, you can do that by uh, you know selecting two speakers, so that way one speaker will be on the top and the other speaker will be at the bottom. If someone's moving on the stage, you can use AI face tracking. The app will transcribe, look at that, and follow them. So that's how you can, use AI for your needs. WritePanda also supports reading of websites and PDF as well. So if you are researching about your podcast, you can simply, feed in that website and ask WritePanda to write a script for your various uh, podcast needs. So those are the different ways that you can leverage AI for your podcasting needs. Yeah, Shannon, if you can go back to the slide as well. Yeah, so to recap, uh, so we've seen why transcription is very important for your podcasting needs, for your SEO, accessibility, and so on. And we've also seen how you can repurpose your podcast for various platforms, and how you can amplify the reach of your podcast. And we've seen how tools like WritePanda can help you do all of that faster and in a more efficient way. So, if you're a one person podcaster, it's all the more essential that you leverage the power of AI for your needs. So, like I said, for those who have joined, for those who will be seeing this webinar now or later, there is a special gift, which is you can use this code, which will give you 30% off on a monthly and a yearly subscription. And the yearly subscription also gives you 2 months free. So essentially, you'll be paying only for 10 months, but you also get a 30% off. So this is especially for the podcast movement community. So hopefully, make the best use of it. And if you want to reach out to me to understand more about WritePanda, or how you can use AI for your various needs, please do drop me a note in my email, which is kamal@writepanda.ai, or you can reach out to me via Twitter, and that's my Twitter handle, or you can check out our website as well, and reach out to me through that as well. So that's the gist of it. Thanks for joining. Are there any questions? Yes. So the social post and audiogram captions, right? So let me quickly show. Shannon, can you go to the share? Yeah. So when you create a social media post, right? So like, just a minute. So when you create a audiogram and a caption, you also get a description of it. So for example, let me go to, yeah, you get a description of it as well. So when you publish into YouTube or various platforms, you are also going to get the benefits of SEO. The other thing is a lot of these Gen Z audience are going to be searching for content in YouTube, within YouTube or within TikTok. So it's all the more likely that they will stumble upon your content when you repurpose content for these platforms. Yeah, any other question? Yes, for a 1 hour podcast episode, right? So it depends on the type of content. So if it's just an audio only podcast, so 1 hour of podcast content will be transcribed in a minute or 2 minutes at the max. If it's a video podcast, because we have to download the video first from YouTube and then transcribe it, it might take 4 or 5 minutes for a video podcast. Cool. So those thanks for those questions, and yeah, we hope that this was really beneficial for you, and looking forward to seeing some of you. Check out WritePanda, and if you have any questions at all, even after this webinar, please feel free to drop me a note. Thanks for joining.